Is the screen visible now? Hello, is the screen visible?
Yes, sir, but slides are not visible still.
Slides are not visible. Wait. Are they visible now? Are they visible?
No, sir.
No. Now is it visible?
No, sir.
Not yet. Now? Not even now?
No, sir.
Let me quickly reopen this thing. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. It is changing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Changing.
it's changing.
Changing. No? Good, very good. Okay. So now let us come to classification. Classification, as we know, that y is now a discrete variable. Since y is a discrete variable, we'll no longer talk about Gaussians because we'll talk about something like a Bernoulli or Montelli. For example, let's take this. Suppose you have a two-class problem. So y is either class 1 or class 2, or let's say class 0 and class 1. So it's like a coin toss. Given a x, y can be either head or tail. Okay, if it is a multi-class problem, it's like a dice, say a 6-class problem. So if x is something, y can be a random variable with values say 1 to 6. So in general, so it's this y is like a Bernoulli, or if there are multiple classes, a multinomial or a multinomial kind of distribution. So we now move to this case. And now we have, again, as we have mentioned, that there are two approaches, a discriminative model where y given x is directly learned. Given a constant value of x, what is the distribution of y? And then you have a generative model where you are interested in p joint distribution of y comma x. And then from that we find the apply the Bayes rule and find the conditional distribution. And in this particular case, this py, your classical machine learning base classifier, if you have studied, this is just a base classifier example. Py is the class marginal or the prior. Px given y is the class conditional or the likelihood. Is the classical Bayesian classification that we have studied in normal machine learning. Okay, so this full x comma y directly from the joint distribution is more powerful generative classification than a discriminative classification model. So we'll go by this generative model, or sorry, let us start with this discriminative model, then we'll go one example, after that we'll go to that. All right, so let us look at a model. See, in the discriminative model, so I'm talking about discriminative model. Now we are interested in probability y given x. Probability y given x. We use a particular kind of trick to find this probability. Okay, so the trick is something like this. So y is initially assumed to be binary, either 0 or 1. What we do is like this. We define Py equal to 1 given some x and some parameter w as like this. We call this probability as mu. We call this probability as mu. Probability y equal to 1 and y equal to 0, we'll call it as 1 minus mu. It is a Bernoulli distribution. Remember, the parameters of Bernoulli distribution are mu and 1 minus mu. So this parameter probability y equal to 1 given x and w, we call it as mu, is a sigma function, small sigma function of WTX. WTX is a scalar, even if x is a vector. A sigma function of WTX, where sigma is of this form, e to the power WTX by 1 plus e to the power WTX, called a sigmoid function. Okay, so if we plot along x-axis WTX and the y-axis is sigma WTX, which is mu, the function would look something like this, something like a S-shaped curve, the standard sigmoid, all of you know. Why you are interested in such a curve? Assume this y-axis, one side of the axis is class 1 and the other side of the axis is class 0. The negative side of the axis is class 0 and the positive side of the axis is class 1. For WTX, for large values of x, large positive values of x, which is deep inside class 1, asymptotically mu is 1. Asymptotically mu is 1. So that means for large values of x, that is WTX, mu goes to 1 with high probability. Okay, and similarly for large negative values of x deep inside the 0 class, it is 0. Okay, so we can think of this mu as kind of a probability of belonging to class 1 or class 0. Mu as a probability of this probability y equal to 1 given x comma w, given x comma w. This w, can you tell me how this curve will change if you change w? How this curve will change if you change w? It will either become smooth, either become sharper, either if you change your w, it will either become like this or it will become like this. Okay, but I can think of this mu as given a particular x and a particular w, that is a shape of this curve. Given a particular x and a particular shape of this curve, what is the probability it belongs to class equal to 1, y equal to 1? It gives this probability. So you see, in this region, probability is kind of 0.5, 0.4, 0.3 and 0 there or not. It does not, definitely does not belong to y equal to 1. And here it is 0.5, 0.5 and here it is definitely belonging to y equal to 1. So this mu is kind of a probability. So you remember earlier where probability, how we are calculating by some Gaussian distribution or something. Here the distribution is a Bernoulli distribution, but Bernoulli distribution, but the probability of belonging to each of these outcomes, head or tail, 1 or 0, that probability mu is calculated by this sigmoid function, whose shape is controlled by the parameter w. Okay. So here is our classification rule. In other words, since I am getting two values 0 and 1, even though I call it a regression, that is a mu value changing smoothly, it is actually a classification with some probability attached to the y equal to 1 or y equal to 0, mu or 1 minus mu probabilities. All right. So the classification rule is this, very simple. Probability y equal to 1 given x comma w is mu, where mu is computed this way, and y equal to 0 is 1 minus mu, which again is this is the expression. So you can immediately recognize that this is kind of a biased coin. This is kind of a biased coin. What does the biased coin mean? That if the value of x is this, the coin has a bias this value, this much. So if the value of x is a 0.2, the coin has a bias of 0.7. If the value of x is a minus 0.2, the coin has a bias 0.2 for head, or rather 0.8 for head and 0.2 for tail. Sorry, 0.8 for head and 0.2 for tail, if x has a value this much. So x determines the bias of the coin, mu and 1 minus mu. Okay, this actually means that this is kind of a Bernoulli, biased coin, Bernoulli. You know the expression for Bernoulli distribution is mu times mu to the power x, where x takes on value 0 or 1. In this case, we would call it y, because y is what is takes on value 0 and 1. So it is mu to the power y and 1 minus mu to the power 1 minus y. You remember your Bernoulli distribution, Bernoulli probability distribution. So mu is nothing but, as we have written down, mu is sigma of wtx, and 1 minus mu is 1 minus mu is 1 minus mu. So this is your Bernoulli distribution. So this gives you the so the point to be noted is that this logistic regression basically gives you a underlying Bernoulli model for y, for the output, but the bias of the parameter of the Bernoulli model, which is mu, the bias, depends on x. How it depends on x? It is computed from x by the sigmoid function, the logistic function. Okay, so if this be so, then once we have this conditional distribution y given x comma w, this you can see that this is Bernoulli distributed, so I can do a maximum likelihood. So what is usually done is that maximum likelihood is equivalent to minimizing the negative of log, maximizing the log likelihood, minimizing the negative of log likelihood, called the NLL. Okay, so because log likelihood is easier to minimize here, you write down the expression for log likelihood and you get your W as the point estimate, the MLE estimate, Bayesian estimate I'm doing later, is this thing. Okay, so if we just kind of solve this, you will get some expression. This again I'm leaving as an exercise. Okay, so now let us go to the full Bayesian logistic regression. Full Bayesian logistic regression. All right, so the likelihood of the Bayesian that we have already got is Bernoulli with sigma, and this is the expression for Bernoulli distribution, mu to the power y, 1 minus mu to the power 1 minus y. Now we need to assume some prior on W. So see, remember, this is the likelihood. In the previous all classes, our likelihood was like x given w. Now x has two parts, y and x. The x part of x is already observed. It is no longer a variable, it is observed. So the y part of y is really the unobserved random variable. So our likelihood would now look like p of, usually it should look like p of y, or rather p of x comma y given w. Since x is already given or constant, it looks like that is same as p of y given x and w, which we have shown to be Bernoulli. Okay, so we now need a prior on w. W is the actual parameter. See, our goal again is to give it a bunch of points x1, y1, classify where y1 is 0 or 1 and x is some vector, real vector. Our job is to estimate this sigma, this sigma function, the w of this sigma function. Because once you know this sigma for a value of x, I will just plot the sigma, look which side of the line it is, and give our classification. And also you can give a probability of classification depending on what the mu value is. Okay, so we need to assume a prior, w is the parameter. Let's say prior on w. We again take a Gaussian prior with 0 mean and lambda inverse variance. Since w is a vector, this lambda inverse is one single scalar lambda inverse on 2. So we take a diagonal matrix ID where each of the diagonal term is lambda inverse. Okay, each of the diagonal term. So this is the covariance matrix actually, where off diagonal elements are 0, diagonal elements are all same lambda inverse. Okay, so now look at the posterior. The posterior is w given all the observations x and all the observations y. We give like the base rule. This gives you the base rule. Since you assume all x to be independent, you can express this as the product of for each xn yn, product of each xn yn. This is the product. And this is the marginal, the denominator. Okay. Since this Gaussian and this Bernoulli is they are not conjugate, this expression is intractable. Okay, this expression is intractable. They are not of a nice form. Okay, so I am unable to write down the expression for this posterior. Earlier, you remember I write down the expression for the posterior as a Gaussian with some sigma and mu n parameters. But here it is intractable. I am unable to write the expression. Okay, so in order to make it tractable, I kind of approximate the posterior by something known as a Laplace approximation. Okay. So what I do is that if I plug in this posterior, this likelihood and the prior, multiply this likelihood and prior, and take the denominator, it will be some function. Okay, let's say this red curve, if you can see, is that we call it the target posterior. We approximate it, but it will look almost like a Gaussian, even though the expression is not exactly Gaussian. What we do, you approximate as a Gaussian whose mean is theta map, maximum posteriori. I'll explain what is theta map. It is kind of an estimate of the theta and a Hessian variance. Okay, so theta map, as you know, is you maximum a posteriori. You can solve this Hessian. So this is theta map, and Hessian is kind of a second derivative of a log likelihood of theta given d. I'll explain what these are. Okay, first let us see why this can be approximated, why this Bernoulli into Gaussian thing can be approximated by a Gaussian with some mean and variance. Okay, so we are interested in theta given data. Theta is w here, w given data. data is x comma y. This is the expression. I just write a e to the power log kind of thing for this thing. Suppose the joint distribution is f theta. I approximate f theta by a second order Taylor series expansion. Okay, around some theta naught. Let's choose theta naught to be theta map. So this will become 0. I'm just running through this. You have to examine it more carefully. Okay, so this is your theta map. This is your theta naught equal to theta map. So if you expand the Taylor series around that, this first term becomes 0. First term becomes 0. Only the second term is left. Okay, so this second term is left. So if you get an expression for log of p d comma theta. If you put that in this expression, you get something like this. You get something like this, and if you simplify all this, you get something like this. This algebra again in the slides it are there. You have to go through the steps. I'm not going through it. Okay, so so this final expression of theta given d, this you can examine is the form of a Gaussian theta minus mu, and this is your sigma. This is your variance. This is the Gaussian form. So that means if we take the second order Taylor approximation, the posterior can be expressed as a Gaussian around theta map. Around theta map as the mean. This is the theta minus mu, theta map. And this is your variance, which is a second derivative of the joint distribution. Okay, so this is my Hessian, so to say. Okay, so if you take some particular form of, you remember this is your Hessian, P of d comma theta map. Theta map can be easily found if you assume a logistic regression. P of d comma theta map can also be found if you assume a logistic regression. So Hessian and this theta map both can be found. This again I am leaving you as an exercise. In the textbook, all of these are worked out. Okay, so these are some standard properties of the Laplace approximation. They work well when not only for this kind of Bernoulli Gaussian combination, but also any distribution which is unimodal, single mode, not like this. So this is the derivation that again I'm not going through this. I said that you have to find theta map. Theta is W here, so the W map becomes this, and H becomes this. If you take the first order, so if you write the expression for P of, because I have told earlier, P of y comma W given x from the shape of the Gaussian curve you can find out. So all these expressions you can actually compute. So what is usually done, the closed form expression for both these are very complex, but it can be shown that both these are convex functions. That means they are nice parabolic functions. So any gradient descent technique, which is a weight update rule, Wt plus 1 equal to Wt minus eta times Gt, where Gt is the derivative. Any such gradient descent technique can easily find these second derivatives. Can easily find this value of the second derivative. So you can solve by a. So if you remember, those of you know about logistic regression, you will know that the parameters of logistic regression are also found out by this kind of weight update gradient descent rule, iterative method. Okay, so basically the same thing I have derived from all these Laplace. So the normal logistic regression rule is a Laplace approximation of the full Bayesian logistic regression, assuming a Bernoulli likelihood and a Gaussian prior. It is a special case. In general, we can have more cases. So the normal logistic regression is a special case of Bayesian logistic regression. Okay, so this is the posterior distribution. Again, I don't think I have time to, and you will be bored also if you go through all this. So, but it is there. You can actually work it out. You can work it out. The multi-class extension of this dualistic regression is called a softmax regression. It's called a softmax. You do instead of a single mu and thing, you have a multinomial. You have a multinoli instead of a Bernoulli. So you have 1 to k classes and mu1, mu2, mu k, where they add up to 1. And the same thing repeats. Okay, so let me go through this second method of classification called generative classification. So you have both for x and y. So this is the picture. This is the plate diagram. So this is the variables x and y, the observations, and these are the knowledge, the hyperparameters. Suppose you assume these two, you generate Bernoulli, y as Bernoulli and x given y as some distribution, which can be anything. Then you can follow the full same as the normal regression. You can follow this, and you can have all these class conditional estimates. Px given theta naught, x given theta 1. Actually, if you look at this thing, then I think so. One thing you should be able to do is that given such a plate diagram, what is observable, what is variable, what are the hyperparameters, you should be able to write the expression for all the probability distributions, the likelihood, the priors, the posteriors, the predictive distributions, all this you should be given this, you should be able to write using Bayes rule. Something you have to assume, for example, you have to assume a form of the prior, you have to assume some hyperparameter, you have to assume some likelihood function, for which you make sensible choices, say a Bernoulli or a Gaussian. If they turn out to be conjugates, you are lucky, your computation is easier, otherwise you have to do some approximation. Okay, so these are all the steps. I think you already know them, so I'm not going through them. You already know them, but for the sake of completeness, the same step that we use, the same pattern follows here also. Okay, you choose some prior, say beta or something, and you get the likelihood. The point to be noted here again is that the likelihood is a product of the individual observations distribution. So you have one likelihood for every observation. You multiply them and get the full likelihood. This actually changes the distribution. This makes them a higher dimensional distribution. And similarly, you can have posteriors, just multiplying this. This again, you same pattern. So I'm not explicitly telling that. So you can come out to note that I am writing here in general form as some distribution P. So all these steps, if you assume some form of P, they will take on some expression. The expression you can derive. Say beta or something you can derive. So similarly, this is the general form. I'm just I've written down the general form. You can go through them in the slides. Probably you will be asked to solve this. Let's say in your class test, to solve this, for example, say a particular form, say beta for the prior and Gaussian for the likelihood. You should be able to derive these expressions for each of the probabilities. Okay, so same. I'm not just going through. One particular case where all these distributions are tractable is when you assume a naive Bayes condition. That means, so earlier I said, so W or the different components of the X, say X1, X2, Xn, you need a full joint distribution, a full Gaussian, multivariate Gaussian. But things become simple where each of the X's have their own univariate Gaussian, and because of naive Bayes, you can multiply them. Then it is computationally easier, and which is a common practice done in machine learning also. All right. So what I want you to do is to go through these steps of this generative distribution. I have already explained these steps in all our previous examples. The same pattern would follow. Only thing there is a conditional instead of a joint, because this is a conditional model. So you have to just go through these steps. I am not going through them. You go through these steps, and once you understand the steps, I'll give you some exercises for the particular cases. Of say beta distribution or a Gaussian distribution, and that you should be able to derive the algebra. All right, so I think this is all about conditional models or two-node models. In fact, not actually all. We'll go into a more general form of this kind of conditional models called a Gaussian process, which will use two things. Which we have see earlier we have made an IID assumptions and multiplied all the individual probabilities. We'll kind of generalize that. We'll kind of generalize that into something called a Gaussian process, and we'll see that is a more powerful method. One programming assignment I'll be giving you this week, that will be on regression. So I'll give you a particular regression model and some likelihood probability distribution, some prior distribution, and you have to kind of derive the expression for all these PPD and posterior distributions and kind of plot them. What are the distributions? What are the probability values? How does the distributions? How do you draw samples from them? So it will be exercise on working with these distributions, how to draw samples from these distributions, how to get the estimate. So see, I have not mentioned, I have just said that it is this probability, this thing. The moment you numerically try to do it in your program, there will be a lot of ill conditioning, and because there are a lot of sigma inverse and all these things are there. Moment you take sigma inverse and all these things, there is a numerical instability. If sigma is sparse, then inverse cannot be easily taken. So all these numerical difficulties will come in, which I have not talked about. So moment you do the programming, first without unsophisticated way you estimate all this. Then you will see some numerical problems will be there. In the statement itself, I'll give you some numerical tricks how to solve them, and then you have to use them to improve them. For the regression, everything will be around regression. The reason you will do this exercise is in your practice, when you actually solve this, say for finance or say weather modeling or something, then these numerical things are actually more important than all this theory. Besides perhaps your experience in choosing the right prior and the right likelihood function. That comes from experience, domain knowledge. Right. So you should be familiarized with these numerical tools. All the packages, all the scikit-learn or packages, they have these numerical methods built in. Okay, so you just play with them. Maybe because it is difficult to implement those numerical techniques, you just use them and see what are their effects on the estimates. Right. So I'll give you a detailed write-up. Please, I'll give you probably 2 weeks time to submit it, but you have to do it. Okay. So one more thing. Yesterday there was a resolution by Dean that there has to be at least 3 class tests. Otherwise, it is not allowed. It is not a valid evaluation. So I have to take 3 class tests, and I'll put a poll in team. I'll not do it in the class hour. Class hour is anyway limited. I'll take it in some other time. You have to suggest me a time and a date probably also where I can take a class test, because I have to take 3 class tests. Right. So thank you for today. And if you have any questions, you can take it.